afternoon. Welcome back. Intro to business. We've got the whole class again today. We're going to start off with a guest speaker, as we usually do, and the speaker is Professor Chad Harms. Professor Harms has been a member of the Mendoza College of Business for about 2 years now. He's finishing his second year. He came to us from Iowa State. His specialty is futures. And that's what he's been involved with. He's been involved with the design, and he is involved with the teaching of the Foresight in Business and Society course, which you may have heard is a course opportunity that's unique, or a course requirement that's unique to this college. All Mendoza juniors take the course in Foresight. It's innovative, think outside the box, really focus on some pretty heavy-duty research course. And that's a pretty great result. But I don't want to steal any of Professor Harms' thunder. Let him get up here and talk, so let's give him a welcome. Chad Harms.
I absolutely do not need a microphone, but they want me to have one, so I throw my hands. No, that's the wrong crowd. Sorry. That's what happens to the mics when you don't use them. So, hello, welcome. My name is Chad Harms. Like you said, I've been here for a couple years. My background is really communication technology, and I've taught a number of classes over the last 15 years that look at how different types of technology and demographic change is influencing society. There's this class that you'll all be taking your junior years called Foresight, and I want to just give you at least a visual to give you a sense of the structure of it. You've all taken history class. I don't have to ask you to raise your hands because I know you've all taken history class. And anybody taken a futures class? No. And for the most part, you're going, well, no. What even is a futures class? And I understand what you're saying because I was at a point I had to ask the same question. What is this future studies area? Okay? The idea of this class is you can look at any particular topic that is of interest to you in our class, right? So I actually just got done with a couple sections this morning, and I put them into teams, and generally teams were varying from, emerging economies and finance to nutrition, to transportation, to healthcare, right? The breadth of topics is really expansive. And it really depends on what you're interested in as to what you'll spend the semester doing. You are able to take this project and to look at these topics in ways that maybe you haven't thought about before, right? How are different things impacting? What are drivers of change within these areas, right? We actually use a mnemonic called DGEST: demographics, environment, government, economy, social, technology. Right? From all of these different angles, how can you look at any particular topic that you might be interested in? We start by this idea of gaining some perspective. Right? We start by looking at what are the different issues that exist. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the experts? What's the background of these topics? We go into really a systems perspective to say, what are the boundaries of this system? And as you're framing your topic, what's going to be relevant and also then irrelevant to your particular topic? Okay, students take a deep dive into whatever particular topic they're interested in, and then we move into, okay, now that you have shown us what you know, right? Now you need to show us something. We go into this idea of evidence. How can you use evidence for making better decisions, for understanding the issues? We have the BIC, which some of you are familiar with, the Business Information Center, the library downstairs. Pete and Steve actually will take us and show us where does secondary archival data live. How can we go to the World Bank or the Department of Justice or the U.S. Census Bureau, any number of places, right, to grab data and to bring that in as evidence to show how change is going to influence that system. From that, we basically put together a baseline forecast, right? Here's the direction we see things going. But given that there's still uncertainty, right, because we're asking you to look, right, 10, 20, 30 years out with regard to this topic. Given that there's uncertainty, how can we take that and develop alternative futures, right? If social issues pull us in this direction, if new technology disrupts change in that direction, what do those different futures look like? And then how could a business in an adaptive way be prepared for those different futures? What are things they could do to shape a preferred future? How could they drive through research and development, through allocation of natural capital or financial, manufactured, or human capital? How could they drive in a particular direction to achieve their goal? So really what we're going through in this class is this idea of how do you, as a leader in business, prepare an organization, work with teams and those individuals that you are overseeing in a way to make positive change, right? We do have an emphasis on sustainability in this class. We have an emphasis on evidence, as I said. How do we see new opportunities from business at macro levels, right? What are new industries or sectors that could develop out of this scenario or that? Even at micro levels, looking at consumer needs, right? What are new types of products, new small businesses that could grow out of these different areas? Okay? I mean, that gives you kind of a general sense of what the course is about, right? We move from what we know to what we can show to how it can grow in a way, right? And what we can do in terms of thinking forward. Questions? I know you have questions. Don't make me sing again. No. Let me give you an idea of some projects that happened just last semester. Right? I had some really interesting projects. Some of them are very now and exist as current issues. Things like childhood obesity in the United States, okay? Access to clean water in China, microfinance in sub-Saharan Africa. These are things that we can think of right now. I had some interesting ones. The future of synthetic meat, right? Lab-grown in vitro meat. Yeah, most people give that ew. Yeah. They imagine Spam, but it doesn't taste nearly as good. Okay. I also had the future of cloud computing, right? The future of mobile healthcare, right? All of these different issues that teams spend a semester digging into and looking at. We conclude our semester with a public event where we will actually have corporate mentors. We actually have a variety of corporate mentors, organizations that are interested in partnering and providing insight to these student teams. IBM, GE, Ascension Health, Chrysler, Murray Capital, Dean's Beans, which is a fair trade coffee company, all help guide teams through these projects. So we do this public event that basically is the showcase of all the work that students put into it and all the thought that they put into these projects. Come on, somebody, a question that I can answer. You have to be going into business to take the course. There are actually, and I know that they have gotten in, there's a minor in sustainability that does allow access in. But right now, there is a large number of business students and all are required to take it. So it does pretty much get focused in on the business students across all the majors though. So good question. Yeah. So yeah, there are ways to get in, but there's no way to get out. No. Other questions? I've cleared all uncertainty from your minds. Is that it? Yes. Please leave now. Anything else? You don't get me forever, so. Yeah.
How do you handle like the criticism of people who would say it's kind of, pointless to overthink the future when you can't really be certain about it? Kind of like how, this convention was supposed to be really crappy, but it's something that's serious.
Yeah, and I saw somebody in shorts and flip-flops walking around. So the question was, how do you deal with the criticism of, it's really not worth the effort. You cannot predict the future. It is not guaranteed, and that's exactly right. And in fact, we steer away from that word predict. Okay? Just because it's not guaranteed and that it's difficult and there's no certainty doesn't mean it's not worth considering and thinking about where things could go, what issues could drive change. Right? More than anything, I think I always come back to this point of history is essential. We bring it into our class. We use it to understand what has happened in the past, what issues, events have gotten us to where we're at now. Right? And history, like I said, is essential. You couldn't do this course without the back side. But the interesting thing about history is you can't change it. It's in the past. The only influence you can have is going forward. So this gives you an idea of how to at least start thinking about some of the techniques and tools that are offered in developing that, right? So we will go through and we'll do certain things you're familiar with, brainstorming types of activities. But we also do systems mapping. We do create futures wheels. We give ourselves ways in which we can start thinking about direction things could go. Because to the extent that we can consider how certain issues may change things and influence things going forward, we can at least be prepared that much more for dealing with those. But you're right. The farther out you go, the less certainty you have. But it's the ability to at least start asking those questions. If you don't ask the questions, you can never find the answers. So, I don't know. Oh, I like that, though. Philosophical question. Good. Other things. Yes, sir. Okay, an outline as to what it takes to create the research paper. If you think of kind of this as a baseline, right? This should give you a sense of what the structure looks like. We start in, and we actually have developed a number of assignments that build this project along the way, right? At one point in time, you can imagine before that structure was laid out as to how to incorporate assignments that build this thing out, students would come back from Easter or come back from Thanksgiving break to a 500-pound gorilla waiting there for them to deal with. We build this thing out over the semester, and we do so by having a couple small assignments and a couple larger assignments. We start by doing, on the front end, an assignment called the scope of the project. Right? Give us an idea of the central question, the direction you want to go. Right? What are some things that are relevant to that topic, right? Demographic change, oversight or regulation at a government level, new technologies, just give us a sense of where these are going and why it's important to business. Why should business care? That's where we start with the framing side of this. Then we move into what I would argue is the first third of the project, which is, we call it a current assessment. Right? In other sectors, they might refer to it as almost a literature review. What's the background? What do you know? What can you give us in terms of what's the terminology or the lexicon within that sector? Who are experts? What are perspectives? What are things that are constraining change, or what are things that are driving change? Okay. Getting a solid base, right, so that you can ask questions, right? Ask intelligent questions, and that becomes where we go next. what are the questions you want to ask? How can you maybe start thinking about, answering, okay, how is demographic change, what as a trend, how is that influencing things, right? We actually always start with, at least, now what we're doing is we start by thinking about the biggest demographic factors that exist in our world, right? Which are fertility rate, mortality rate, migration. Right? The population is rising to, they're expecting by 2050, 10 billion. What does that look like? Where is it rising fast? Where is it, it's slowing down? So getting a sense of that background then helps us to ask the questions, okay? How do we understand that change? How can we represent that change to basically back up our assumptions and to validate our ideas? Okay? Then we put that together as a, I just realized I keep walking around. He has to move that camera to get, see? We back up those questions with evidence. So we're able to then say, okay, given that the direction things are going, right, we can see here's a trajectory for this topic. But the reality of it is, that is not where it's always going to end up. Not anywhere close, because change is constant. Right? Whether we see it or not, right? It could happen very fast or very slow, but change exists all around us. So we look at how we can understand the relationship of all those trends. That becomes the trend analysis that we use to build this forecast of things. Then we incorporate and think about how uncertainty plays a part, right? Uncertainty, whether it's regulation. So you can think about issues like energy, our fossil fuel usage. Well, we would want to know, well, how does government regulation, right, whether drilling for oil is going to be, allowed in certain places or not, or what's the report on fracking? What's that going to look like, and how is that going to influence new companies' opportunities going forward? With that, then, we develop out those alternative futures to understand how uncertainty plays out in that. Those uncertainties then allow us at least a vantage point to think about how we could, eventually get to different places in the future. What are those business opportunities? If we think a strategy at this point of what are the adaptive strategies or resilient strategies to allow us to, to at least be a part of each of those futures, or what are shaping strategies that allow us to drive into that? Okay. We take and apply that all, and I would say that a way to think about this is we move from a critical thinking perspective, right? How do we understand and know and assess the information that's available to us, to an analytical thinking, right? How do we take and understand the evidence, to a very creative thinking? And I think that becomes a unique part of this class is the creative thinking that goes into understanding what could happen and what types of opportunities exist. That.
Answer questions. This is your chance to ask one of the professors at college about one of our unique courses. This is obviously a junior course. All of you will be required to take this class.
And I'll offer it up. My office is 315. Okay, so, and my email is easy. It's Chad Harms, so it's charms@nd.edu. Very easy to remember. Any questions, or if you ever want to stop by and look at some of the projects of the past, I'm always available to do that. Okay.
And if you forget, we often refer to Chad as the most charming professor. So
That's not true.
Oh, my God.
Okay, thank you very much, Dave. We appreciate it.